Alright, y'all. Peep game. So you guys know I've been going back and digging into the archive of anime I was supposed to watch for over a decade now. And in my last video, we started off with part 1 of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, which if you haven't seen, the link is in the description below. And in that video, I described my first impressions and laid out how I felt about the show after taking in part 1. But so far, bruh, I'm still not impressed. I still don't see what the hell everybody is hyping up JoJo's for, and to be honest, I would normally just drop the show from here and keep it pushing, but I had y'all screaming at me in the comments telling me to go watch part 2, to which the homies even told me that it would get 1,000,000 times better. So here we are, y'all boys. Of course, if you like this video and you want me to cover part 3, then don't forget to drop a like for your boy and subscribe to join the squad. But without further ado, today we're going to be taking a look at and giving you my honest first impressions of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 2. I had hella low expectations coming into this genre. It took me forever to finish part 1, especially with the super slow pacing and the fact that I didn't watch the 1-hour special on Crunchyroll. So coming into this, I had to look past the 4-episode anime rule because the homies hyped this part up so much while I was still watching part 1. And if you look on anime forums, a lot of people hold this part up in high regards as one of the best JoJo parts ever made. So I had to see what was up for myself. First and foremost, starting off with the opening. This John slaps. I mean, nah, for real, this John really does slide, bro. Not just the song too, but even the visuals go crazy. From the colors down to the way the characters move on beat, everything about this opening is damn near perfect. So far, 10 out of 10 on the opening. It really took me out of the doom and gloom of part 1 and really put me in the mood to experience something totally new, so I gotta give it major credit for that. Now, the ending. Y'all already know how I feel about that, John. If you watch my previous video, you know to me the song that plays at the end is a certified hood classic. And to be honest, it even feels more nostalgic in this part compared to part 1. With new visuals to complement the song, I feel like it fits 1-to-1 with part 2 compared to part 1 and matches perfectly with the overall theme. Now things completely shift gears as we finally move out of the boring ass 1880s era England where niggas was still eating crumpets with tea and wearing powdered wigs. And we go straight into the down and dirty, rat infested 1930s New York City era where the Great Depression is in live and effect. Children are out in the middle of the street starving off breadcrumbs while Granny is in the line at the soup kitchen trying to survive off baked beans and glizzies. Then we got this little nigga here who boot game my man's wallet while he was just trying to buy him a pop, but he runs into the pigs and they beat his ass and treat him like Black lives don't matter. Turns out this little nigga's name is Smokey. You know, like the Smokey from Friday. Hey everybody, Smokey's over here taking the shit. Head ass. So they about to Rodney King my nigga Smokey and lock his ass up for running off on the plug twice, but before they do, my mans who got his shit took shows up to vouch for my mans like, yo, it's not even like that, bruh. It's really the homie. But these bacon back niggas not buying it. And just take a look at this fat ass donut eating chicken grease slurping ass nigga right here. How the hell this man got ass cheeks up underneath his real cheeks? Blood ugly as hell, old Jack Campbell from all that head ass boy. And that's not even the worst part, y'all. He takes his big sausage finger and shoves it up his windpipe and takes out a fat ass boogie woogie and smears it all over my man's face. Hell nah, y'all. At that point, your boy would have automatically ended up with a 5-star wanted level because the crash out would have been crazy. But nah, what does my man do? Of course he slaps the dog shit out of this nigga and sticks his finger so far up his nose, his face scrunches up like a cartoon character. Then his partner draws the blick, but clearly he's a rookie. And my man's pops the top on his Coca-Cola and shoots it straight at Porky's fingers and has that shit throwing up gang signs before busting down the coke like he's in a food commercial. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is where I get introduced to the man with the plan. My man 50 grand and put it in the sand. Joesph C. Joestar. And the C stands for crash out. Now this nigga right here is a straight gangster. Dog, I don't know how else to express to y'all how much I love this man and how I feel like he's a way better Joestar than Jonathan. This nigga is a funny, charismatic, egotistical, foul-mouthed nincompoop who's able to think of the dumbest ways to make it out of sticky situations. Like for example, when these goons tried to debo Speedwagon's plane, he told them to piss off while trying to read the newest JJK chapter. And when one of them pistol whipped him and made him stain his shirt, he got hot and electrocuted the pilot while trying to qualify to become a D1 crash out by literally crashing the plane. You ever met a smart, dumb nigga? That's literally Joesph summed up in 3 words. Just know, ever since a youngin', my man's been thuggin'. But one thing I can say I relate to Joesph on heavy is the fact that he loves his granny Edna. She's the one person who keeps this man in check without even having to lift a finger. And I mess with that heavy. He has mad respect for his family and he does whatever he can to protect them, even if that means crashing a plane out the sky. But it's not only just his family. It's his friends too. When him, Granny, and Smokey pull up the Ruth Chris to try and get a steak, you have this Dr. Egghead ass nigga talking crazy about my boy Smokey out the side of his mouth like those 2 pigs earlier in the episode. But my man Joesph ain't having it. He automatically squares up while embarrassing Buddy in the middle of the restaurant while hitting him with the iconic "now you're gonna say XYZ" right before the nigga actually says it. That's a little stick Joesph tends to use throughout part 2 that I really enjoyed and even made me laugh at times. Now, even though we get introduced to a new Joestar, we also see a few familiar faces from part 1 like Speedwagon, who went on to start the Speedwagon Foundation, which is this organization that funds various different projects like archaeological research and studying the infamous stone mass, which, spoiler alert, makes a huge return in this part. And speaking of not making a huge return, remember this guy right here? Well, I don't either, but apparently this is Straits, one of the supporting characters from part 1 who showed up towards the end near the raid on Dio. And I know you might be asking, why am I bringing up this random background character who damn near does nothing in part 1? Well, I'm gonna get to that. So Speedwagon and the gang pull up to Mexico on their Raiders of the Lost Ark type vibe, and not only do they stumble upon another stone mass, they also discover this man-like figure who's frozen within the walls of the tomb. Now me, y'all already know I would have been the first one out of there, no hesitation. But these niggas let their curiosity get the best of them. And y'all know what happens when the cat gets curious. See, now that's something I was not expecting at all. This is why we still don't trust you type shit. Homie murked his whole squad and even took out Speedwagon before pulling a Dio and putting on a stone mask. And this is where everything begins. Now I gotta say, I'm hella impressed with the way part 2 starts off compared to part 1. Now I'm not gonna sit here and say this is the best start to an anime because obviously I've seen better, especially out of some of the new gen. But for what it is, I was really messing with it. But the one part I especially liked was right after Joesph finds out about Speedwagon's death. Him and Smokey are chilling in a bar trying to figure out how they're gonna find Straits. But they don't need to look too far because Straits pulls up on them to run the ones off the rip. Now at first, I'm thinking this is about to be a clean one-on-one where Joesph can fight to avenge Speedwagon's death. But I totally forgot Joesph is a complete crash out. What does this man do? He pulls out the fucking chopper like he's Arnold Schwarzenegger and shoots at women, kids, and babies. This type of YN energy is why I love this man Joesph. Even Smokey is looking like, where did this nigga get that Draco from? Now, did that shit work? Of course it didn't. Even though he Swiss cheesed this man, he just got back up like the Walking Dead and popped the bullets out of his body like he's Luffy, and he shoots Joesph with the same laser beam Dio used against Jonathan. And just when it's looking like it's over, Joesph instantly pulls out a reverse Uno card and sneaks this man with the back of the Draco mixed with a little bit of jamon. But this is where the bullshit comes into play because homie was only able to survive because of the Versace scarf that he had on that could redirect jamon, and he damn near gets the one up on Joesph and has him looking like Neo from the Matrix. So Joesph is looking like, fine, if jamon won't work, fuck it, we crash out. He strapped not just one grenade, but 10 of those things to my man and dove out the window like his nickname's Geronimo. Now the real question is, how did those shits not nuke that one building, let alone that entire block? He had enough firepower to light that shit up from Park Ave all the way down to Madison. I don't know. That's that JoJo logic starting to kick in, bro. But not even that shit worked. This demon comes back to life on some Alien versus Predator type shit and leaves Joesph with only one option any real nigga would take in that situation. You take off and get the hell out of Dodge. Yo, this shit had me dying when I first seen it because I'm just looking like, what the hell? You not gonna finish what you started, bruh? But Straits ends up getting weakened by the blast, so he kidnaps this woman who just so happened to not hear the gunshots and explosions happening right up the block to use her as bait to get to Joesph. Any one of you take another step, I'm blowing this broad's brains out. And that includes you, Joesph. Man, I don't know that bitch. I don't give a damn what happens to her. Now that's what I call hard boiled. Even with this man sticking his dirty ass fingers in old girl's mouth, my man's Joesph ain't even break a sweat not once cause he knows we don't simp, we pimp over here. This nigga playing, he ain't really like that for real. Oh, but he is like that for real. He rips out old girl's tooth to show he ain't playing and he wants to run the ones with my man's Joesph on no funny shit. I bet. He squares up to fight my mans on top of the Brooklyn Bridge and you know shit's about to get real when he rips his Ralph Lauren to reveal the Arab underneath. Or what I like to call it, the hood nigga's suit of armor. Straits tries to catch him slipping, but Joesph came prepared with a couple of shot glasses he drank the Henny out of when he was at the bar and redirects the beams right back at my man's head top, leaving him laid out. But he's still not done. He rushes my man one last time as a final hoorah before taking a Hamon straight to the dome and flying off the edge of the bridge. And this is where we see some of the Joestar come out of Joesph because right before he falls, he catches them to try and see why my mans did what he did. But that conversation didn't last long because before they really started to chop it up, Straits ends up dying from the Hamon coursing through his body. And all this, ladies and gentlemen, only takes place in the first 2 episodes. Compared to part 1, this shit is like night and day. They don't waste any time and get straight into the main plot in less than 3 episodes while making sure to include a banger ass fight right off the rip. I know I said this before, but I'll continue to say it until you understand me when I say I love this man Joesph, bruh. He's like the double colada shot you take on a Monday morning after barely being able to get any sleep from a party the night before. He's just hella fun to watch and often leaves you thinking, what is this nigga's gonna do next? So after rescuing old girl and failing to sauce her up, we shift over to Mexico where I get introduced to one of my favorite characters, Rudolph von Stroheim, aka the Russian G.I. Joe nigga from Street Fighter. And y'all will know what I mean in a minute. Now before y'all say it, no, I don't mess with the group that rhymes with Yahtzee, but this nigga is dead ass funny. If Joesph is Crash Dummy number 1, this man is definitely Crash Dummy number 2. And you know he's unhinged as hell because look at how he's introduced. He has a bitch lick the wound off his face after she made a mistake and sliced his jaw with a razor blade. Then he almost slices her tongue off with the same razor blade after telling her, bitch, don't be sorry, be careful. Off the rip, I knew this man was diabolical. And what's even more diabolical is the fact that these niggas did the #1 thing you should never do in both anime and real life. Dig up some shit you have no clue about. Remember what I said earlier in the video about curiosity and what it did to the cat? Well, these niggas obviously didn't listen because they brought the man-shaped stone pillars right into the middle of their lair. So at that point, we're just waiting for these niggas to die. But you know who ain't dead? Speedwagon. I thought he bit the dust when Straits knocked his shit back, but apparently he survived. He tried to warn them as well and tell them they have no clue what they're getting into, but they're not trying to hear it. So long story short, these niggas resurrect Saucy Santana who pops out the cut like Dave the Barbarian and absorbs this goonie like he's auditioning for the main role in the Human Centipede. And on the other hand, you have Joesph pulling up in a dress disguised as a woman and trying to sneak into the lair holding Speedwagon. Dog, this is what I mean. Where did my man think he was going with this? You either gotta be incredibly down bad or just a bumbling idiot not to see that this is a whole nigga cosplaying in a dress. But what's funny is the guards just took a look at this nigga for like 2 seconds and automatically upped the fire. Like, damn, y'all just took it from 0 to 100 real quick. That shit had me dying, yo. But Joesph hit their ass with 2 bottles of Casamigos and donkey kicked them straight in their shit before deboing their uniform and sneaking into the compound. Now at this point, I quickly get reminded of why they call this JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I mean, just look at this shit, bro. These niggas thought this man disappeared, but he really contorted his body to fit into the air vent on some Ben 10 type shit. Then, he takes over this one dude's body and turns him into that fat ass clown Yugi had to duel back in season 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh! So what did they decide to do? They light his bitch ass up! Dog, they on it, huh? But what they don't know is the Abomination got his own blicky and his shit hits 10 times harder. And just when you think the madness ended, nigga, we just getting started. Saucy Santana rips himself out of Fool's body and starts letting off 500 rounds, but Joesph comes in clutch and rips off a piece of Strawheim's taper and uses it mixed with Hamon to shield them from the attack. Now this part right here is one of the prime reasons of why I say I mess with Strawheim heavy. This man is willing to die about his country and stand on business before he let another nigga get the one up on him. He has Joesph cut off his own bare leg just to let the sunlight in and fry Santana to a crisp. Not even gonna lie, I thought that shit was gonna work. Wasn't no way this man was gonna be able to escape the #1 enemy of both vampires and demons. But I guess I was dead ass wrong because this man contorts his body again and escaping to Strawheim's leg that was just cut off. I know that shit gotta be feeling crazy as hell. Not once did I ever stop to think that this man can just escape into the leg that was just cut off. Santana almost had it though. I say that because he just so happened to crawl into the one nigga who's willing to die about his country in a heartbeat. This man said, "Allahu Akbar," and blew himself up to try and stop Santana from escaping into the well. But of course, they couldn't let him be the one to finish the job and they had to give it to Joesph since he is the main character. So now we switch over to Rome, a beautiful city sprawling with history and significance. A place where gladiators fought in the Colosseum just to impress the emperor. A place of love full of restaurants that serve the blackest noodles I ever seen in my life. I know I seen some hood shit in my day, but I never seen nigga-fied ramen noodles served up on a platter looking like it's a prison meal. I swear people would take some of the hoodest shit in the world and call it gourmet. But I'm met with one of the smoothest operators in all of Europe, Caesar Zappelli. He's another one of my favorite characters in all of part 2. The man has class, he has drip, and to me, he serves as the best contrast next to Joesph. Whereas Joesph is more spontaneous and willing to crash out at any moment, Caesar is more methodical and level-headed, especially when it comes to battle. He even has this cool ass ability that allows him to use Hamon through these bubbles he can use to attack, defend, and even trap enemies. Now when he's first introduced, the man was a dickhead and I really didn't like him that much. But at the same time, I kinda understood since he feels like his grandfather Mrs. Zappelli died because Joseph's grandfather Jonathan couldn't hold his own in a fight, which, to be honest, it's kind of true. But as time went on, he grew on me more and more as his relationship with Joesph grew. He went from looking down on a man and seeing him as nothing more than a country bumpkin to finally respecting him and treating him like a brother. And even though part 1 wasn't my favorite, I still love to call back to it with Zappelli having a grandson who plays a key role in the part that follows. Now Joesph and Caesar are both sent out to train together to fully master Hamon because we come to find out Santana ain't dead. He just turned himself into a rock so he wouldn't get fully wrecked by the sun. And not only that, we also come to find out he wasn't the only Pillar Man. He's just the first one we meet who's essentially at the bottom of the totem pole. So, you mean to tell me there's even more of these freaks outside roaming the earth? I don't think these boys really know what they're getting themselves into. And the one thing I want to know is, why are these niggas still trying to dig these boys up? Did they not get the memo of what happened to their partners in Mexico? Was Saucy Santana not enough? But no one ever listens till it's too late. Oh, do y'all not hear that theme playing in the background? That shit hard as hell. That shit sounds like something that'll be playing at a bar mitzvah and everybody just sliding to the beat. The Pillarman gets resurrected and automatically annihilates everyone in one of the most gruesome scenes I done damn near ever seen before uttering probably one of the coldest opening lines in anime.
私の眠ってる間、外の世界がどのように変わったか、この貧弱な発明を見て想像できるな。
Damn! Talk about cold-blooded. I knew Santana was menacing, but you could just feel the aura emanating off these niggas from the very first scene. All they have to do is brush past you, and you're cooked. They treated that one nigga the same way someone would treat an ant that they just stepped on. At that point, they didn't even consider Joesph and Caesar a real threat, and they just walked right past them like they were nothing more than a couple of NPCs. That just lets you know those boys are on a whole nother level from what we're used to seeing. But crazy enough, I had the homie tell me that each one of their names, Cars, Whamu, and AC/DC, were all musical references to famous bands from way back in the day. I already knew AC/DC was a direct reference, but I didn't know a single thing about the other two my first go around watching this, so I found that pretty cool. It's revealed that the Pillar Men are actually looking for the Red Stone of Asia, an artifact they can use in combination with the Stone Mask to once and for all conquer the sun. And they're willing to step on whoever or whatever to get it. Like my man Mark, who is somehow still alive even though his body was chopped in half. Anime, bro. Caesar goes in to try to avenge his friend who was planning on getting married, but he didn't stand a chance against these niggas who just laughed in his face and tossed him to the side like he was complete garbage. Then, here comes Joesph Crash Out bringing out a pair of nutcrackers to settle the score and ends up looking like a buffoon at first, but later gets off a clean hit on Whamu's face in the end. But sadly, that's not enough. Whamu activates his special ability Dust Tornado to completely decimate this man Joesph and send him flying. Now this is the part that I found funny. This nigga is still alive, right? But he starts playing dead and tries to escape and has Caesar looking like, boy, what the hell? And Whamu doesn't even notice the whole time till he reaches the mining cart. And remember what I told y'all earlier? Joesph is a smart, dumb nigga. He used that opportunity to lure Whamu to him just so he can get them both down the tunnel and get them away from Caesar and Speedwagon. Smart idea on paper, but how the hell are you gonna get out of this one? Are you gonna blow this man up with dynamite like he's a Looney Tune character? Or are you gonna send the cart flying with you in it? Well, Whamu already seen past all that shit and he decided to send the cart flying himself. But right before he's about to finish off Joesph, he's like, yo, hold on. Hear me out real quick. Give me a good month to come back stronger and I promise to whoop your ass. And he's like, oh yeah? I wanna see you try it. Nigga, I don't. Why would you agree to that shit? You already saw that nigga was able to scar your face with a pair of ball busters and was even willing to blow himself up knowing damn well that wouldn't kill you. That's like giving the neighborhood Crash Out John with the iron jaw an opportunity to come back stronger. You dumb as hell for that, my boy. I would've just killed him right then and there without any hesitation. But he lets him live and attaches a wedding ring to his heart that'll kill him in exactly 33 days if he doesn't stand on his word and win his fight the next time they meet. Talk about till death do us part. Then, to add insult to injury, AC/DC attaches another ring to his throat that'll poison him if he doesn't get the ring attached to his lip. Damn, bruh. This has become somewhat of a impossible situation. Joesph shot himself in the foot with this one, but ain't no running or turning back now. It's time for the boys to lock in as it's life or death. But now it's time for a quick intermission. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and lock in with the post notifications because when I drop that part 3 video, I want you to be the first one to see it. And of course, if you're messing with this video, don't forget to drop a like and say what's up in the comments down below. And of course, I like to give an extra special shout out to my boy Alex. Of course, I can't forget my brother Curtis, my boy Carlos, and a couple of you who commented Jojo in my last video. My man's Holy Luck Dan, my boy Strange Dead Monster, my guy ECJ, my boy Cheese is the only way because you know that's the only way. And last but not least, my mans who commented down below, but I ain't even gonna lie, bruh, I don't know how to pronounce your name, so yeah, I'm just gonna give you that shout out anyway. So now we find ourselves in Venice where Jojo only has a month to lock in and make that shit happen or he's cooked. And I get introduced to one of the finest ladies in JoJo's up to this point. The one and the only Lisa. Now why is her name repeated twice? I still have no clue to this day, bro. But don't let that pretty face fool you. She's a Hamon master who has multiple capabilities such as walking on water and using an oars paddle to slap the shit out of Joesph without even touching him. She's gonna be the one to train Joesph and Caesar to master their Hamon before the month is out, and they couldn't have picked a better person. She takes them both to Gulag Island, a couple of miles off the coast of Venice, to undergo hellish training that no normal person could survive. Now, I actually do like this portion of the entire plot. It's not your run-of-the-mill training arc where the main character is able to overcome it easily. As a matter of fact, Joesph struggled so much in the beginning, I was really starting to think he wasn't gonna make it. I mean, yeah, I knew he would eventually because the plot still had to progress, but damn did that nigga have a hard time getting there. And shit, even Caesar had a hard time getting to the top, and he's supposed to be the one that holds the most talent between the two. But shit, I would too if I was stuck down there climbing for 3 days straight. But I think the reason why I like this part so much is because we finally get to see Joesph and Caesar put their pride aside and really root for each other to get to the top. They lock in for damn near that full month and really become close and turn into real Joe bros. Meanwhile, the Pillarmen are still in search for the Super Red Stone of Asia, but this whole time, Lisa actually has it in her possession. There's less than a week left from the fight against the Pillarmen, but AC/DC couldn't wait. He snuck onto the island and took out one of the instructors before deciding to go get Jojo out the way so he could steal the Super Red Stone of Asia on his own terms. And no lie, at first Jojo was cooking this nigga. He was able to outsmart him and even get a good lick in, but AC/DC does something I thought I'd never see. Man, what kind of bullshit is this? This man throws a temper tantrum like he's an 8-year-old girl and starts crying his eyes out like his dog just got ran over or some shit. Bruh, you supposed to be the almighty AC/DC who stands above all humanity with no other equal besides cars and Whamu. Yet, here you are, crying your eyes out like a little biatch. Niggas have no shame nowadays. But as soon as I finish saying that, he instantly snaps back to normal and says he let his emotions get the best of him. This nigga has to have split personality disorder on some YNW Melly type shit or something, because that's not normal, my guy. But he replaces the arm he just lost, and it's revealed he has the power of extreme heat, which can incinerate anything his blood touches in damn near an instant. Then he pulls a Dio and brings out these nasty ass veins to infect Joesph with his blood, but he was able to dodge them just by the hairs of his chinny chin. I thought we left those nasty ass veins back in part 1, but I guess not. At first, it's looking like AC/DC has Joesph on the ropes and he's able to clearly see through every one of his plans. But Jojo uses his final trap card to turn the tables on AC/DC and hits him with a Hamon Overdrive and burns this nigga to a crisp and sends him back to hell. And with that, he's able to retrieve the nose ring holding the antidote to the poison ring wrapped around his windpipe, and he walks off into the sunset to live another day. But wait, y'all already know it wouldn't be Jojo's if some bullshit didn't happen. This brain-shaped thing that looks like it came straight out of R.L. Stein's Goosebumps appears on Joseph's back without him even noticing that it's there. Nigga, how do you not feel that shit? I know that shit is all warm and slimy, and I can just imagine it slithering all up and down my back like a snail would on a wall. But apparently, Susie Q didn't even feel it because she gets possessed by it and sends the Red Stone of Asia on a boat straight to the Pillarmen. Turns out, that brain-looking thing was AC/DC, who was somehow able to survive by detaching his brain from his body. And the only way to fully get rid of this nigga is by killing Susie Q in the process. Now mind you, the whole time I was watching this, I wasn't paying attention to anything else but Lisa's sexy ass in that bathtub, bruh. Call me what you want, but she thick as hell. But let's stay on topic, my brothers. Susie Q starts going brazy, literally tearing her body limb from limb with radioactive blood gushing everywhere. And Jojo and Caesar run a 2-man using Hamon to exercise the brain out of her body. As AC/DC's nasty ass brain finally dies, we find out the Red Stone is on his way to Switzerland, and that's where we find ourselves next. But surprisingly, it isn't the Pillarmen who are in possession of the Red Stone, it's actually the Germans. Now I'ma be real, I totally forgot about these niggas and I didn't think they'll return to the story after Strawheim blew himself up. But guess who else makes a grand return? Or should I say, a grand entrance? The man Cars. He shows up to crash the party and automatically takes out 5 German soldiers without even looking, just based off their body heat alone. He has the same power as one of those creatures from Parasite, being able to seamlessly turn any part of his body into a sharp and deadly blade. With that, he's able to take down every soldier except for one. Now who the hell is this, you might ask? Cars wasn't able to detect him because he didn't carry any type of body heat. Is that because he's really a dead body moving among us like some sort of zombie? Close. But no, it's none other than my boy G.I. Joe, alive and in the flesh. My man's done transformed into the Terminator on that Arnold Schwarzenegger type beat. Oh, I'll be back, head ass. And he damn sure came back in one of the craziest ways possible. They even got this nigga throwing up the Yahtzee emote and everything. He pulls out the fucking chopper and blasts that nigga back to Mexico, but cars ain't cracking. He slices every round in half, smoother than a knife to butter, and it's revealed this nigga was the original Chainsaw Man before Denji. He slices straight through Schwarzenegger and steals the red stone, but before Straheim shoots him with an ultraviolet beam, causing him to drop the stone off the edge of the cliff, him and Joesph race to try and retrieve it. Through a little finesse, Joesph is able to retrieve the stone while sending cars over the edge, but he says don't push me just because I'm close and takes Joesph down with him. But with a little more finesse, this time mixed in with a sprinkle of bullshit, Jojo was able to come out on top while cars fell into the bottom of the abyss. So now we're 5 days out from the final fight and the gang finds the building the Pillar Men are holed up in, and everybody's on board to strike now. Well, everyone except Jojo. He thinks it's a bad idea and you can start to see the cracks in his armor as he's nervous about the fight. It's understandable though, as any man would be afraid to go up against these super monsters who have the capabilities to off you without any hesitation. But Caesar wasn't having it. He's trying to strike now while the iron's hot and sets out on his own to run down on cars while Wanmu is at the grocery store picking up some milk. But it looks like he came home early because he pops out of the cut and launches a sneak attack, cutting off Aladdin's arm and dragging him back into the haunted mansion. Now, how is this man able to walk around with the sun shining down in the middle of the day? Well, he does so by using his wind technique to coat his body in a wind type armor that can reflect light and even turn himself invisible. It's a crazy and smart way to use your technique if you ask me. But Wanmu isn't the only one with new tricks up his sleeve. Caesar uses his Hamon bubble attack and sends them spinning at a high rate of speed, leaving Wanmu basically unable to defend. He tries running back into the mansion, but Caesar wasn't having it, and he slices this man's Achilles thinking he has the one up, but Wanmu is 2 steps ahead and uses Caesar as a starting block and pushes off of him, sending himself flying straight into the mansion. But Caesar throws caution to the wind and enters the mansion ready to throw down for round 2. The two start to go band for band to see who will get rocked first, and I ain't gonna lie, Caesar was really holding his own. All that training really paid off because in the past, he couldn't even stand in the same room as these niggas. Not only is he able to back this man into a corner, he's also able to outsmart him by using his bubbles to refract the light beaming from the outside, essentially surrounding him in an unavoidable bombardment. And just as he was about to go in for the final blow, he made one grave mistake that not even I thought about. Caesar blocks the sun with his body, creating a shadow just big enough for Wanmu to move and use his most devastating attack.
Divine technique, Holy Windstorm.
Holy shit! That attack completely blew Caesar's back out and he was so close to winning that fight. Even Wanmu recognizes how close that fight was and he was only able to pull off that Hail Mary through sheer luck. But Caesar isn't cracking! He stands back up like Rock Lee in the 3rd round of the Chunin exams with his body torn completely to shreds and barely being able to stand. If Caesar doesn't have one thing, this nigga has heart. Whereas any other person would have just stayed down and pretended to play dead until Jojo arrives, Caesar still has more fight left in him, even with his body barely being able to move. But Wanmu takes pity on this nigga since he isn't even able to stand properly and he turns his back on him again the same way he did when they first met. Big mistake, my boy. Caesar's able to sneak up on him and steal the lip ring holding the antidote to the poison ring locked around Jojo's heart. And And I ain't gonna lie to y'all boys, this part right here, my nigga, still has me feeling some type of way to this day. Just like his daddy and his granddaddy, Caesar uses the last of his hormone he has left and offers it to Jojo along with the antidote as his one final wish. And as soon as Jojo and Lisa recognize what's going on, it was too late. A giant portion of the ceiling comes crashing down and crushes Caesar completely, ultimately taking his life. But wait, that's still not the part that got me, bruh. Check me out. So Wanmu sees the bubble Caesar made out of his own blood to carry the ring and scarf to Jojo, right? And at first, he was gonna destroy it. But he changed his mind at the last second, not because he's sentimental, but because he recognizes and respects Caesar for his talent as a true fighter and being the one man to almost defeat him in battle. My guy. That was the part that made me fall in love with Wanmu as a character. He's not as completely ruthless as one might think. He shows Caesar the utmost respect as a fighter to not burst his bubble. Come on now, you know I had to use that at least one time in the video. But in all seriousness, this part really showed me that Wanmu isn't just another run-of-the-mill minion who doesn't have any sort of depth. This man has his own morals that he strictly stands firm on, even if it means giving the enemy something that can help him. And I absolutely love characters like that. But like I said, we're still not at the part that had me feeling some type of way yet. So look, Jojo and Lisa stumble upon the bubble while looking for Caesar, and Joesph is like,
このホテルに入ってから一度もシーザーの名を呼んでねえ。なぜって呼ぶのが怖かった。もしシーザーって大声で呼んだのに返事が返ってこなかったなら、シーンとした静寂だけだったらって、それが恐ろしかった。
And he tries searching through the rubble to see if he could find him. And I'll never forget, bro. The first time I seen this, I was watching this with the homie and I was looking at it and I was like, bro, this nigga not dead, dog. It's shonen, so it's rare for main characters like Caesar to just bite the dust, right? And he was like, just keep watching, bro. So I kept watching, and I was just hoping and praying that Joesph would find Caesar alive. Barely alive, but still alive. But then Lisa is like,
シーザーを悲しむのも探すことも許しません。すでに敵地に入ったからにはこのまま決戦を挑むまで。
And at that point, I was thinking the same thing Joesph was thinking at that very moment. You heartless bitch. How you gonna tell Joesph to stop looking for this man? There might be a chance that he's still alive. But, and then when she put the cigarette in her mouth backwards and the light hit the inside of the mansion revealing Caesar was there the entire time. And seeing Lisa fall to her knees with the music welling up in the background. My nigga, that part broke me. Bruh. My first time watching this, I had no idea about this scene, let alone how iconic it is in the JoJo community. Mind you, I was watching this episode with the homie the whole time, so I couldn't cry the way I wanted to, or I would have ended up looking like a straight bitch. He had a sad ass backstory, which made me realize why he was the way that he was. And with that, I really wanted him to win. At the moment, I didn't know he was actually dead. You could even ask the homie. I swear on everything I told that man I had to come back and watch the rest another day because that shit had me feeling some type of way, bro. Dog, to this day, I'm still fucked up about what happened with Caesar. And if you watch my previous video, you already know about the JoJo's curse. And this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is where I learned that that shit is really real, where people in JoJo's could die at any time, no matter how much you love them. If I stay on this any longer, this video will be way longer than what it already is. But just know, this is the part that got me fully invested into part 2. And before we move on, I just want to say RIP to my boy for life, Caesar Zappelli. But now it's time for revenge. After taking out some useless ass fodder and finessing the Pillarmen into running a one-on-one, Jojo and Lisa pull up to the Coliseum for one last bout over who will control the Red Stone of Asia. But this time, the fight will be a little bit different. Instead of a traditional fight, Jojo and Wanmu will face off in a chariot-style arena battle where the winner leads with their lives and the loser goes straight to hell. I like this change in pace. It makes things way more interesting, especially since this is one of the most important fights in the series. The battle begins as soon as the full moon is revealed and Crash Out season is back in full effect. Joesph finessed the hell out of Wanmu and places rocks in front of his chariot, gaining a massive head start and being the first one to reach the hammer. But Wanmu is like, fuck the hammer. And he takes a whole damn column and chucks it straight at this nigga, destroying his chariot. I told y'all Crash Out season was back and live in effect. And with Wanmu coming straight for this man's head top, what does Jojo decide to do? He grabs the hammer and runs straight at this man, that's what. He uses it to hit the harness between the horses and pole vault himself to safety while escaping Wanmu's grip and using the horses to his advantage. But before he can deliver the jackhammer, Wanmu pops out to deliver his ultimate attack.
Divine Technique, Holy Windstorm.
Damn! Jojo had to eat that attack the same way Caesar did in his fight against Wanmu. But Jojo was able to survive by wrapping hormone-filled rings around Wanmu's arms, weakening his attack just enough so he could skate by while leaving him crippled at the same time. But not only did he crush his arms, he also crushed his pride. But there's no time to mope. We're on to round 2, and Wanmu gouges his eyes out and decides to rely on the wind instead of his eyes for the rest of the battle. Both fighters take up a crossbow and Wanmu delivers the first shot, taking out one of Jojo's horses, and delivers the second shot like they're fighting on a roulette table while giving Joesph the meanest rib shot I done damn near ever seen. But Joesph quickly takes a page out of Wanmu's book and fires off a deadly shot filled with hormone that pierces straight through Wanmu's chest, leaving him incapacitated. Then, to add insult to injury, Joesph delivers another blow to his legs, leaving him crippled and basically unable to fight. But Wanmu has too much heart. He separates his arms from his body and fires them from the hole in his chest, pinning down Joesph while he gears up for his ultimate attack.
Final Modo Konketsu!
And Wanmu sends out a highly pressurized stream of wind that can slice through any and everything. But the only downside is, Wanmu's body can't handle all that pressure, so it'll serve as his final attack. Jojo tries throwing a bottle of Henny in Caesar's bandana, but neither worked, and it's looking like it's the end for my boy. Or so I thought. The Henny that Joesph threw gets mixed into the windpipes while Caesar's bandana carries hormone that lights the flames and explodes, leaving the great Wanmu as nothing more than a disfigured head. And in his final moments, Wanmu shows us who he really is as a character. A proud warrior who was of pure heart and loyal to a fault. I enjoyed this fight from beginning to end. Wanmu was such an amazing character, and I love how the series shed light on who he really was. And compared to AC/DC, Wanmu was a million times better. And I might get some flack for saying this, but even though he killed Caesar, I'm glad that he was the one who did it. It just wouldn't have felt right if it was Cars or AC/DC. Both deaths were iconic to me, don't get me wrong, but Wanmu stuck out to me as one of the best characters in all of Part 2. So now the only one left is Cars. His fight against Lisa takes place in the Temple of Piz Berlina, and even though their fight was entertaining to watch, I'm not gonna spend too much time on it as Lisa ends up getting completely finessed after Cars used a substitution juice to stab Lisa in the back and put her through the shredder. I mean, Cars is right though. Why would you expect the villain to fight fair? That nigga just wants to get the red stone no matter how he has to get it. Of course, Jojo tries to intervene, but he's way too worn out from his fight with Wanmu to get close. And just when it seems like all is lost, Stroheim shows up in the nick of time with the German army, taking out all the zombies and giving Joesph the opportunity to fight Cars one-on-one. But Cars loves to play dirty. He tosses Lisa over the edge, using her as nothing more than bait to trap Joesph, leaving him completely stuck and open to an attack. And from here, it's finally revealed that the baby Edna saved back in part 1 was actually Lisa the entire time. I was completely shocked by this reveal my first time watching it because I had no clue how important that baby would end up being in the grand scheme of things. And not only that, it's also revealed that Lisa is actually Joseph's biological mom. Her backstory is shown and it's revealed what happened to Joseph's father as well as why he didn't even know Lisa was his own mother. Bruh. Now it all makes sense when you really stop to think about it. But there's no time to think. Jojo barely has enough energy to fight while he has to hold up Lisa and fight against the strongest and deadliest Pillar Man in all of mankind. But through quick thinking and a little bit of finesse, Jojo was able to gain the upper hand on Cars and severely damage him, causing him to fall into the pit of spikes while at the same time saving Lisa. And no lie, ever since the start of the series, Joseph's battle IQ and wit had just been going up and up after every single battle, and it's really starting to shine in this fight right here. But it's still not over yet. Right before Strawheim was about to deliver the final blow using the UV cannon, Cars dons the stone mask holding the red stone of Asia and the light gets absorbed into the stone, transforming Cars into the ultimate life form. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. Look at what I'm talking about right here. He creates a squirrel basically out of nothing, right? Seems harmless and friendly and even kinda cute. But then Sandy Cheeks turns into a cannibal and goes on a rampage, tearing his way through niggas' flesh and eating their guts like it's made out of acorns. Dog, that part had me rolling when I first watched it because I had no clue that shit was gonna happen. So in this form, Cars is basically immortal and can't be killed by neither Hamon nor the sun. And on top of all of that, he has the ability to create and manipulate life at will freely and even transform himself into any animal and outperform them in whatever they do. So in layman's terms, this nigga basically became God now. But when it's looking like all hope is lost, Jojo still has one trick left up his sleeve. The one plan he can always fall back on when things go awry. Get the fuck out of Dodge. I knew he was gonna do that shit. He takes off, but Cars ain't having it, and he transforms into this abomination of a bird and chases after him to finally finish him off. But Jojo is going for the gold in the Crash Out Olympics, and he steals a warplane, evening out the playing field against Cars. Now the one question I still have to this day is, how did that nigga get that bitch to start and get it into the air that fast? Was it already sitting there still running? Or was it already mid-flight and he just jumped into it in the middle of the air? Bruh, I have no clue what's going on. But regardless, Jojo starts letting off 100 rounds, which had no effect after Cars turned his wings into armadillo shields, and he starts lighting that bitch up, damn near causing Jojo to crash. So Jojo says, alright, bet, we taking this shit up into the clouds. And he ascends higher into the sky, sending Cars after him. If nothing can kill him, how the hell do we beat this nigga? By crashing out, that's how. Jojo plans on having Cars follow him into a volcano and using the magma to defeat him once and for all. But before he could even get the chance, Cars summons up piranhas and releases the Kraken to destroy Joseph's plane, forcing him to eject and dive headfirst into the volcano. And as Cars is on his way to finish him off, got your dumb ass. Joesph switched himself out with a dummy and he comes crashing down in the plane like a mad lunatic, ready to crash that bitch straight into the volcano while sending Cars straight into hell. But Cars said, you going into that shit by yourself. And he gears up for his grand escape. But before he could, G.I. Joe comes out the cut with the assist, leaving this man pinned to the plane while Jojo jumps out at the last second, barely making it out alive. Another question, where did this nigga come from? Wasn't he still on the cliff with Speedwagon and Smokey just a couple of seconds ago? I don't know, bro, but shout out to my mans for sacrificing his leg to save my boy Joesph. The plane crashes into the volcano, Cars is finally defeated, and the world is finally saved. Or so I thought when I first watched it. What the fuck? Cars is still alive? That's right. He survived by coating himself in a suit of armor made out of bubbles, and he ends up pulling an Akainu by digging through the side of the volcano and coming out of the surface to sneak Joesph and slice off his arm. To me, this part is straight bullshit. The nigga should have died right there and it would have been a good ending to the story, but nope. He just had to come back with one final ass pull that the story didn't even need. But all hating aside, Joesph tried to use Hamon as a last resort, but Cars wasn't having it and uses his own Hamon to instantly counter Jojo and damn near take off his leg as well. So, you telling me this man can use Hamon too? Oh yeah, this man Joesph is cooked, bro. With no other options left, Joesph can only lie there and wait for Cars to finally erase him from this world. But right before he does, Joesph holds up the Red Stone of Asia and uses Cars' Hamon to channel a beam of light that shoots into the ground of the volcano, creating an eruption that sends them both flying. Again, where did this nigga get this stone from? Wasn't that shit destroyed after Cars put it in the stone mask? But fuck it, we'll just go with it. They get launched into the stratosphere and Cars transforms ready to leave Jojo to die all by himself. But before he could take off, Jojo's arm comes flying in, striking him right in the neck, while a bunch of volcanic rubble also comes in, propelling him even higher into the sky, sending this nigga right into space. Again, bruh, how did this man's arm come flying up and just so happen to hit this nigga in the neck? How did the eruption just so happen to have the ground they were standing on get sent flying into the air instead of having the entire volcano erupt? And just how fast were those rocks going to send Cars into outer fucking space? Anime, bro. That's the answer. And as a result, Cars gets sent into outer space where he becomes completely frozen, with him being unable to die and wander aimlessly through the solar system. I would have preferred him to die in the volcano, but I guess this will do. And with that, Joesph survives after falling into the sea, and the fight with the Pillarmen finally comes to a close. And soon after, Jojo reunites with Suzy Q and finally puts a ring on her finger. And we get an end to all the supporting characters' backstory, from Edna and Speedwagon all the way down to Smokey, who basically became Obama. And last but not least, we see an older Joesph in front of the airport on his way to Tokyo as part 2 officially comes to a close. God damn, this was a long one, but I damn sure enjoyed it. Part 2 is a million times better than part 1. I damn near enjoyed everything about it, from the characters all the way down to the plot itself. It was funny, it was emotional, and overall, it was just a fun time to watch. I love Joesph and what he brought to the story as far as his charisma, his wit, and the various badass moments that he had. And of course, I cannot forget my boy Caesar and my boy Wamu. Those two also carry heavy weight in this part. And the MVP had to be Strawheim. He was always there when you needed him the most, and if it wasn't for him, Joesph would have definitely died against Cars that day. I even love the supporting characters like Lisa and Speedwagon, and even the villains in this part, the Pillarmen, felt like more of a threat than Dio did back in part 1. Don't get me wrong, Dio is still my man 50 grand, but compared to people like Cars and Wamu, there's no comparison, bruh. Overall, I really enjoyed my first time watching this, and even the rewatch while making this video. To me, it just feels so nostalgic for some reason, and it will definitely hold one of the top spots as one of my favorite JoJo parts so far. All in all, I give this part a solid 7 out of 10. Absolute solid part, and this got me excited for part 3. But you guys let me know in the comments down below how you feel about this part. Was it good? Was it bad? Was Joesph a good Joestar? And am I tripping for giving it a 7? Scream at me down below and let me know. And if you made it this far, of course, I appreciate you with everything. And if you want a shout out in my next video, comment down below, Jesus! And I'll make sure to include you in the next video. Like I said, Patreon, Twitch, and Discord is on the way. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you guys in part 3. Peace.